Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege to speak in front of you about, you heard since morning a lot about AI, how AI is actually a paradigm shift in the organizations. But still I believe there's a lot of struggle with the organization, where to put AI, how to identify that, and I'm going to speak about the topic which is very, very dear in the boardrooms today. And they talk about unleash the AI-powered digital enterprise. Now, as the name goes, is very simple, but before that, let me quote 3 examples, and I think you are all aware about Gartner, McKinsey, and Deloitte. Gartner has declared that in another 1 year's time, with the AI adoption in the organizations, it's going to have a 6.2 billion hours of productivity. Now, he's not talking about revenue, he's not talking about anything else, he's not talking about investment, but it talks about how AI can bring that productivity, which is 6.2 billion hours in 1 year's time. And as we progress further, probably it will be 10 billion hours productivity will get improved. McKinsey is talking about that if I join all the corporates in the world, he's talking about with the adoption of AI, the kind of profitability it will generate will be $4.4 trillion. It's a public information I am sharing. So that means the AI is going to impact not only on the productivity, but going to add on to your bottom line. The third one, I would quote Deloitte. It says that almost 80% of the organizations, be it PSUs, governments, public listed companies, corporates, all are actually now moving towards AI. Now, before that, can I have a slide changer, please? Yeah, it's. Now, what it requires today for having a very, very successful AI transformation. Trust me, AI is not about technology. It's about first defining the business vision. And once you have defined the business vision very clearly what you are looking for, you need to put an AI strategy which will give you how to reach and create that value proposition. And second, it is very important that you must enable the organization with an enterprise-grade digital infrastructure. Now, when I'm mentioning about this, actually AI sits on the intersection of these 3 pillars, because as mentioned, vision identifies where the value is to be created. Because if you have not identified the value proposition, trust me, it will be amassing, like somebody will go for a GPU buying, somebody will go for a server, and he says that I am ready with the infrastructure. But if you are not identified the real value proposition where it is going to be created, it's going to be a failure. And that is one reason where AI adoption in most of the organizations, as my experience says, have failed, because this was the first step to identify. Secondly, you must identify a strategy, because the strategy will tell you whatever value proposition you have actually conceptualized, how it is going to be realized. And once that is there, then you have to have an infrastructure which will actually allow you to deliver at scale. Now, having said that, my topic which I am going to talk about is unleashing AI-powered digital enterprise. Here comes a collaborative approach with HP and Orbit together, because Orbit as company drives the AI practice. We have the domain knowledge, we have the wherewithal, how an AI practice can be inducted in the company, and then leverage the HP infrastructure, which is the worldwide most advanced infra available today in terms of whether it is a compute need, whether it is some kind of a modeling required, it's all ready there, implemented. So let me talk about something on the AI gold rush. You remember way back in 19th century when there was a gold rush, every company was getting into mining the gold. But the winner was those companies who could understand how to convert that investment into a business outcome. So that's here now in this today when we talk about is an AI gold rush. So before that, what is very important to understand, how do you really build an AI factory within your organization? You may be in a retail organization, maybe a manufacturing organization, or it could be in the healthcare industry, or you are in a power sector or a telecom. All these sectors which I am talking about is essentially, if they want to adopt, the first thing has to build that you need to build an AI factory. So the choice of foundation will come from the kind of AI factory you're choosing for. Let me give you an example why I'm talking about AI factory. It may be a little, disconnect for you to understand. Let's say I'm in a manufacturing organization and I'm producing products. But what is that? Think of when you build an AI factory, you are actually building what outcome you want to make out of that manufacturing process. Could be an anomaly detection, could be something, a violation while performing the task by the operators on the shop floor, could be something, a preventive maintenance for an installation or for a device or a machine need to be preempted before it gets into a breakdown, or there could be some security reason. So these are the aspects which are there normally when you might have an MES deployed, you might have an ERP deployed, you might have a full-fledged SCM, but unless you have this AI fabric which learns data from the system and builds that model and gives you a predictability. So here comes the choice of AI factories. Now, the moment I talked about AI factories, what I am talking about that you must need a storage where the data will reside. You also need a compute which will give you that inferencing in a very fast and a connectivity with the networks, which I will talk a little later, so that it can deliver that information to the edge part of it, which can be consumed by the users. So the first and foremost foundation model which we are talking about is, you cannot start an AI journey if you have not prepared your data. So data is very important. The quality of data is important. You must analyze, you put a data framework, you put a data quality analysis, and based on that, the ideal would be you must have a data lake foundation built in the organization. So the more and more data is clean, your model which you are going to develop for AI inferencing will be much better. Second, very important part is the networks for AI and AI for network. Now, any information which need to be delivered from the compute to the edge, you need to have a network, like a bandwidth which is there, scalability which is there. All these information or a technology space need to be there to run that AI model. And once you have placed this infrastructure, you run an AI to see whether there is a failure or not a failure. And that is what I am talking about, AI for networks. So you see that how you can make a combination, having an infra there, manage that infra by an AI. And then comes the speed at which you want to derive the value. That's the most fundamental, because any strategy, any event which you do, and any planning which you are doing it, unless it is conformed to the business value, it is just an investment which will not give you the real return for which you are going to install an AI. I'll show you a couple of examples there later. And then what is very important about the infra about it, how you are inferencing your model, how fast you have. Let's say you have a data lake where you have a structured data, you have an unstructured data, you have documents, and anything has to be deciphered and the data inside need to be there. That inferencing model is very, very important and time to give you the results. Of course, without governance and security, is the key thing to have that infra. So what I am talking about now, that look at that any industry which I talked about, whether it is telecom, retail, healthcare, or for that matter, finance. Let me take you an example of finance. Any lending company who either an NBFC or a bank, what is the business there? Their business is to lend to the clients. And now what all need to be done? There will be at least 50-60 documents to be submitted by the client, which is being analyzed for security, fraud detections and all. And imagine if somebody is getting 1,000 applications every day, it is humanly impossible to do that. The technology plays a very, very large role. You run your LLM-based OCR, which will extract the data, decipher it based on intelligence, will give you the results, whether the client who has applied for it, after doing his eKYC, it is worth giving a loan or not. Similarly, on the manufacturing side, I talked about how you plan a factory simulation. My previous speaker talked about Autodesk, where he was trying to show that how AutoCAD can help in simulating that information. He also talked about digital twin technology. So there is something where you can do using AI and using information from product design to market, speed up the whole thing and probably put it in the market. There is something called, before you get into a manufacturing, you do a rapid prototyping. Now the rapid prototyping, it's actually nothing but simulation on the screen. So you can validate your product design, you can validate your metallurgy, you can validate everything sitting on the screen itself in a couple of hours. And once it is recommended, your product is ready, can go into the shop floor for manufacturing. So let me show you some of the real examples of use cases which will align you how AI has been implemented by us using HP infrastructure. The sound.
Use rising costs. Introducing Orbit AI Hub, 5 to 10 times GPU utilization. One unified platform, secure, scalable, cost transparent. Orbit AI Hub, powering the future of enterprise AI from fragmented systems to unified intelligence.
Here what I'm trying to explain you that you have the infrastructure already available. You have GPUs where you can connect various GPUs into one or slice the GPU into different segments, because as you access to a server, the whole resources are available. But that's a waste and over provision. What we have built is an AI hub, which basically forms a centralized workspace. Once you identified a workplace, you identified a problem statement, quickly train that model by slicing the GPU and distribute the GPU to 10, 15, 20 users depending on the need. So what you are doing is actually reutilizing your assets in such a way that you bring value about it. It is primarily developed a containerized environment. You do your development in one container, test it out with all the models and move into the production model. People have achieved in just 2 days time, right from conceptual to getting into a production by using an AI hub. It also has a GPU virtualization I talked about, where you can slice the GPU memory depending on the needs and still use the same GPU for multiple use cases.
Information is everywhere, except when you need it.
Need help? I've got the answers.
So you might have heard about, a lot of questions people ask now to ChatGPT or Claude and have the answers. We have developed and we recommend that why and how you can create your own GPT. The advantage here is that if you look at the data sovereignty part of it, it remains within your organization. So instead of getting your valuable information, giving it to ChatGPT or Claude or for that matter Gemini, you are actually passing out that information outside your premises. So the compromise on data sovereignty, especially on the PCU in the government sector and lastly public sector companies, they are using heavily on ChatGPT. There is a lapse on security. The one I am talking about and an action which we have already developed, that create your own GPT, because it is your own processes, your own information lies within you and anybody can go and ask for an information, the answer is there. If that answer is not there, the human in loop plays a role and you enrich your model by that information. Next time such problems come, it can be answered it very clearly. I'll show you one example more here. Before that, let me share you another example of vision analytics.
Monitoring is essential. especially in everyday operations. PPE compliance must be maintained for secure, safe, and quality workflows. Introducing Orbit Video Analytics Solution, ensuring safety, strengthening security, and elevating quality through real-time intelligence.
This is our own product which we have developed using HPE infrastructure, completely validated, and I am proud to say that in the last 4 or 5 years' time, we have developed a computer vision model where can be applied to any function, any shop floor, any retail industry, supply chain, which does that inferencing. And here, I am proud to say today that we have achieved, if there are thousands of cameras where the video feed is coming, we are building a business logic on that, giving a inferencing and immediately informing the stakeholders what violation has taken place at a certain location. Today, most of the organizations have large set of cameras. All that video goes into the NVR, and when there is an event happen, you do a post-mortem. So the post-mortem is no good because it's a dead. Somebody has met an injury and a fatal accident. Now what do you do? So here is a solution which we have developed that it will give you a warning what is wrong is being handled on the spot and what should not have happened. I show you one example with a permission from where we have implemented, and it will make more sense how we are actually simulating and creating an inferencing. As I say today, with thousands of cameras, our inferencing now is 5,000 per second. So you can imagine an action is done in some milliseconds. So this is how it works. We take the camera feeds, we give a vision model and a business logic and visualization alerts. So let me just play one video, which will give you and make an understanding what this vision analytics brings a value to any organization. And if there is a violation being done, you don't need...
Please wear your safety helmet. Please wear your safety helmet. Please wear your safety helmet.
Process followed, action taken, communication given to the guy who is violating the process, and stop. Now you don't need a supervisory control. You think of so many examples there which can solve the problems on the floor or anywhere for that matter.
Please wear your safety helmet.
Okay,
Please
I'll just
wear
wrap
your
up.
safety helmet. Please wear your safety helmet. Please wear your safety helmet. Please wear your safety helmet.
So I'll stop that, and let me give you another example, because the challenge is that you can't put your cameras everywhere. So we have come out that
Urban
using the
challenges
mobile
often
camera,
involve
integrating this vision platform can give you an interpretation of
Report
what
issues
picture has been carried
instantly
out.
from your smartphone. AI identifies the problem, geotags it, and assigns severity in real time. Complaints are automatically assigned and tracked to resolution, ensuring faster action and safer communities. Civic watchdog, empowering citizens, transforming cities.
So this is about the civic watchdog. It could be a corn watch, it could be a manufacturing walk. You can simulate it anywhere. The platform has been completely built on the infrastructure. I talked about its leverage on HP infrastructure. You have storage, which can help you to do a modeling and storing that data. You have AI optimizing systems, which is available, either Prolient or Cray systems, which are ready today for AI applications. And then this layer, which is the top, I talked about the use cases, how you can develop those use cases. With that, I think I'll just finish my presentation. Any questions we can take offline, because I've taken much more time for the presentation. Thank you very much.